Hey, where are you going?
I'm going to run some errands.
You're going to see Subby again, are you?
Subby? My subscribers? Honey, no, of course not. If I had time to do that, you know I'd be hanging out with you.
John, I swear to God, if you keep spending more time with your subscribers than you do with me, you're going to have a serious problem. Every time I need you, you're busy with them. You talk to them, not me, all day long. And don't even get me started on Arlo.
You guys are awesome. My subscribers, seriously, I snuck out of the home life today so I can dedicate this video just to answering your questions all about Dobermans, about me, about Arlo, any questions you have whatsoever. So let's jump straight into it before you know who catches us. Come on.
John! Hello? John!
Up first, Ray asks, should I walk a Doberman puppy before it is leash trained, or must I wait until the puppy is old enough to be leash trained? I think what you're referring to is balancing the risk of developing some poor behaviors on the leash with the benefits of getting your puppy out there as early as possible, as young as possible, and out there walking around the world to expose and get more socialization. Personally, I think you just need to get your dog out there as soon as possible. You have a very limited critical socialization window from about ages 4 weeks of age to 16 weeks of age. That's considered the critical socialization window. So most of us get a puppy, 8, 9, 10 weeks of age. We need to get them socializing as quick as possible. So I think you need to get out there as soon as possible. Now, talk to your vet first, because a lot of veterinarians may not want you taking your puppy out that young until they're fully vaccinated, which, depending on the vaccination schedule, could be as late as 16 weeks of age or maybe even after, but that's a whole nother issue. But yeah, I think the benefits of getting that early socialization definitely outweigh any potential drawbacks of getting out so early and maybe developing some poor habits that you got to train through later on the leash. And a little side note, there's no reason you can't start leash training right now, right away when they're a young puppy. Yeah, sure, when you go out there, it might be more of a distraction fest and they might be sniffing the world, and it may not be a really good walking session necessarily. You might be taking tons of breaks, but it can help prevent a lot of the potential bad habits that they might develop. Who Do It Be asked, how do I know I'm ready for a Doberman? I'm a little suspicious that that's your real name, Who Do It Be, but okay, in my opinion, you're ready for a Doberman when you got your finances in order, you can financially take care of it, and you got your personal life in order, especially for that first year, and you can handle the demands of a, sometimes highly demanding dog like a Doberman. Also, you want to make sure that you have kind of just a basic plan on how you're going to tackle the house training stuff, the behavior training, and command training, and that kind of thing, because when a Doberman's a pretty dominant dog, and when they test you on their stubbornness and they're trying to outsmart you, if you don't have an exact plan on how you approach these things, you might be tempted to waver your training style a little bit, and that'll create an opening that your dog's going to take advantage of. So I think having kind of a basic plan that you plan to stick to, a training plan that you're going to stick to, is going to make a big difference in your success with the dog. Now, all that being said, you're never going to be 100% ready for a Doberman. Don't kill yourself with analysis paralysis, right? Don't research this forever to the point where you never end up getting a dog because you could just research it to death. Eventually, you're going to have to take that leap, and as long as you're committed to making it work and having a happy home with your Doberman, you'll be just fine. Luna Lovegood asks, hi John, first of all, let me just say thank you. I got my little 8-week-old Dobie all because of you. That is awesome. She is literal perfection, except one tiny thing. She likes to stay up at night and sleep more during the day. I don't have a problem at waking up at night for potty breaks, but playing fetch at 2 a.m. is too demanding. Do you have any tips to get her to sleep more at night and less during the day? Thanks. That is awesome. Thank you so much for the question, Luna. That's really interesting. So it sounds like her schedule is completely flopped. Now, I've seen that happen before in puppies, especially when the owner works a lot during the day. So the owner will work during the day, and the dog will start to see that as kind of their nighttime, and they'll sleep that time. And then when the owner comes home, they see that as, oh, it's wake time now, and now they're awake, including during the night. So that could happen. Also, it could be a separation anxiety thing. If, let's say you said 8-week-old puppy, that's pretty young. Your pup is still used to sleeping with all the brothers and sisters and mom in one big group. So it could be kind of scary at night, and she might want to, really handle that anxiety by getting you up and making you play with her. So I think you should do a few things. One, remember this: keep nights boring and daytimes fun. Don't play with her at night. You could take her out to go potty, that kind of thing, and put her back, but don't make night times fun. Make them boring. That way it's sleep time. During the day, definitely I think you should increase the interactions with her a little bit more. She's got some extra energy potentially she's not getting out. Now that could be anxiety, but it could also be some other issues, but you need to address that with more exercise, training, interaction, that kind of thing. If you're gone because you work during the day, have a pet sitter, a dog walker, a friend, a family member, somebody come by and check on the dog, let him out, interact with him, give him some exercise, take him to the bathroom and put him back. And that should help too. And I think at this age, let's see, 8 weeks old, they should be sleeping 18 to 20 hours or so roughly per day. That's a lot of sleeping every single day. And as they age, that gets fewer numbers of hours of sleeping during the day. So you really need to make sure they get on track before they continue to get older and that sleeping time during the day gets less. Lily Queen asked, hi, I really want to get a Doberman, but I'm afraid I'm not physically strong enough. I'm only 5'4" and pretty skinny. Do you think I could handle these beautiful dogs? Thank you. Really, you shouldn't be a big, strong person, or you shouldn't have to be to get a Doberman by any means. In fact, a lot of times, smaller owners of Dobermans do a lot better with the training than large ones. And let me explain why. Because let's say take leash training, for example. With leash training, the smaller amount of force that you use, the better you're doing. In fact, if you can use almost no force, then you're doing awesome with leash training. If your dog is always pulling ahead of you and jerking you or going off and you're worried about them chasing something that they see, then you're probably progressing too fast with training. You really got to let the Doberman set the pace. Your dog should set the pace for your leash training. If that stuff's happening, you got to go back to your backyard or in your house, practice the heel command, practice the positioning again, and get confident there before you go back out. So actually, that's why a lot of smaller people actually do better with these dogs sometimes, because they're more conscious about the amount of force they're using. So from the very beginning, if you just make sure you use very little or no force at all, then you are going to be on a much better track than someone who's just, defaults to manhandling their dog to get them to do what they want. Now, as far as prong collars, I get asked that a lot, especially by people on the smaller side who want a Doberman. Prong collars, I'm generally not a fan of because I think they're misused a lot. They're used as like a shortcut for training, which they absolutely are not. However, I think using a prong collar on an already trained Doberman, just for the peace of mind and safety of the owner, I don't think that's a horrible thing because you shouldn't be using force anyway when you're out and about. So if it's just for a safety and peace of mind thing, I think that could be okay. But I think you do not need to be at all a big person to own a Doberman. Samantha Sauceda asks, are there ways to train Doberman ears to stay floppy when we didn't clip them? Unfortunately, no. When you crop a Doberman's ears, the reason why they stand up is because, the owner posts the ears during that critical stage when the ear cartilage is starting to firm up and harden up, which is natural. It happens, when the dog's young, under 1 year of age. So when you don't crop the ears and they're kind of down, they will still firm up a little bit. They'll still be floppier, of course, than, a cropped Doberman's ears, but they're going to firm up a little bit because that's just natural for the ear cartilage as a dog ages. I know, I wish we could keep that cute puppy floppy ears forever, but unfortunately, you can't. Thor Bartlett asks, I just got my results back from Embark for my Doberman's genetic testing and sadly came up with the DCM2 gene. I forwarded the results to my vet for review, but what kind of risk does this mean? Both of her parents were tested and neither had it. Thor, first of all, awesome job getting your dog DNA tested. That is like the best thing you can do and it's super easy. Cheek swab right at home. So good you did that. You are on top of things more than many other owners, unfortunately, with the health of your dog. So that's awesome. Now, sadly, we still don't know a lot about the DCM1 and the DCM2 tests and what they mean in regards to your dog's chances of developing DCM. They've been linked to an increased risk of DCM, but it's not the cause of DCM. So again, those tests, DCM1 tests and DCM2 tests, don't test for the cause of DCM, they test for risk factors to determine if your dog's at a higher risk. So your dog is positive for the DCM2 test, which tests for a mutation in the TTN gene, I believe. So whether your dog has 1 or 2 copies of the mutated gene, they're at the same increased risk for DCM. However, now let me throw this out there. Every study I've seen about the DCM2 test and that gene it tests for, the TTN gene, is talking about American Doberman pinschers. And I don't think I've seen any that do that same study on European Dobermans. And that can make a difference. In the case, for example, the DCM1 test, there was at least one study that showed that a positive test result in the DCM1 gene showed no increased risk in DCM in European Dobermans, and that it only was an increased risk in American Dobermans, because that's where all the studies were for that, and what that test, I guess, was based on. So I don't want to give you false hope, though, because if you have a European Doberman, it's still very prevalent in the European lines. DCM is very common, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but I don't want to give you false hope. But basically, you just need to talk to your vet, because your vet can do things like a regular echocardiogram or a Holter monitor, which checks the heart every so often to watch for any signs of DCM developing, and really watch that closer, because now you know, because you tested your dog, to watch for those things closer, so that if it pops up, they can address it earlier, and your dog will have hopefully a longer lifespan that way. But awesome job getting your dog tested. I'm going to put a link up here for anyone who hasn't seen me test my dog. I test my dog live on video for you guys. Link should be popping up right there, but I'll also put a link to that video in the description down below. It's probably the best thing you can do for your dog. Guys, what Thor did was just so awesome. He opened up a window basically into his dog's health that he never would have seen otherwise by getting his dog tested, which I think is just so important. With those tests nowadays, you can find some really cool stuff other than these genetic potential markers for health issues. You can also find out things like the COI, coefficient of inbreeding number, which is a number that's linked to the longevity of your dog. So you can actually get like a little bit of a window into possibly the longevity, how long your dog might live. Or statistically. Now, like Arlo, for example, he was a little bit on the high end for that, so he might have a little bit shorter lifespan than normal, which is a horrible thing to think about, but I'm glad I know it, and I'm glad I've had that window into his health. So again, definitely, if you haven't gotten your dog tested, I'm a big believer in not only getting your Doberman tested, but then donating those tests to research so that they can help better the future of the Doberman breed. Take a look at that video linked in the description. I'll have it down there. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. Hit that like button down below if you got any use from any of the questions here on the video today. Keep being great Doberman breed ambassadors, and of course, see you next time.
And don't even get me started on Arlo. You see that dog more than you see me, and I don't appreciate the way you ignore me when Arlo is around. Are you even listening to me right now? And that's another thing, you never listen. Arlo barks because he's hungry or something, and you're all over that. But I yell for like 15 minutes straight and nothing. You don't even help. Last time I literally had to leave a comment on your video for you to finally talk to me. John? Hello?